I used to dream militant dreams of taking over America to show these white folks how it should be done. I used to dream radical dreams of blowing everyone away with my perceptive powers of correct analysis. I even used to think I'd be the one to stop the riot and negotiate the peace. Then I awoke and dug that if I dreamed natural dreams of being a natural woman, doing what a woman does when she is natural, I would have a revolution.
Women want to be productive citizens, women particularly who have to take care of their families. They don't want public assistance. They want to be able to go out and work, be able to pay their taxes so that they can be considered productive citizens. But if you don't have child care centers, you have all of these women who have to support their families going back on the public assistance rolls. Thousands of women in America are not working because of the need for additional luxuries. They're working because it's a necessity. And if we believe in our children, and we want to give our children the best, since we say we're a child-oriented society, we should develop the kind of national child care centers in this country that's desperately needed.
I mean, when we look at the history of slavery, we have a whole situation where no one cared if you were a woman or not. You had to get out into the field. Or after freedom, no one cared whether you were a woman or not. You had to work to support your family. So black women, that's one of the problems that Women's Lib has, I think, in relating to the black woman. They look at themselves as women, but we've had to look at ourselves as black.
Black women are essential leaders today, just as they have been in past decades. In this film, I identify black women in politics, which encompasses black women as elected officials, activists, workers in political institutions, as well as leaders in political organizations. During the Civil Rights era, black women supported and led protests, as well as initiated activism within the black community and across the country, despite copious obstacles. Many of the obstacles that I've found throughout my research have been racism, sexism, slim opportunities for growth, and the adoption of the winner-takes-all mentality, which forces them to focus on individual growth and pits black women against each other. I also originally planned to focus my research on the city of Memphis. However, there was a great lack of articles done about black women in activism or politics in the city of Memphis. So as you continue watching, you will see many black women from across the country during the Civil Rights era or today telling their story about how they navigate the area of politics.
Imagine having the expertise, the vision, the boldness to run for office and not enough money to compete with the other candidates. Imagine being qualified and not having enough yard signs to win. Imagine having the history and knowing the ins and outs of your community and still being denied access to the political power. That's what it is to be a black woman in politics. We have the vision, the history, the qualifications, the expertise, and no access. But it's not just about money. It's a flooded field of candidates. It's constantly working twice as hard to make it half as far in a race. It's the patriarchy.
I want to welcome you, Bernie, to Westlake, where we said Black Lives Matter on Black Friday. We shut down Westlake, and we shut down the tree lighting, and we have anointed this land, saying we will fight for Black lives no matter what it takes.
What's your reaction to those protests?
Well, I think it's unfortunate because among other things, I wanted to talk about the issue of black lives, of the fact that the American people are tired of seeing unarmed African Americans shot and killed. But there are other issues as well that we have to talk about. And that is the fact that the middle class of this country is disappearing. Almost all of the new income and wealth is going to the top 1%. And most important, we don't bring change in this country in terms of jobs that we need, education, healthcare, income and wealth inequalities, unless all people stand together. That's what we've got to do.
For the first 2 to 3 months, I was miserable. The gentleman did not pay me any mind at all. When I would go to the lunchroom to eat, they would not sit at the same table as I did because I was a black woman. It was horrible. And I'll give you 2 little incidents that perhaps it shows you that I have a sense of humor about a lot of things. There was a little dining room beneath the house, the floor of the house, and that was the place where we could go to get a bite if we were going to have a long day. And I did not know that in that dining room the tables were designated to the different delegations. There was a table for New York, a table for Alabama, a table for... And I went one day to go down and sit at the table. Well, I sat at a table because nobody was sitting there. 10 chairs to the table. And I ordered my lunch. I was very hungry that day. And I got dessert and salads and a little bit of everything put on the table. And I always took the New York Times and read it while I was eating because nobody would sit by me. So this day, I felt something hovering around me. I looked up, and if looks could kill, I would have been dead. Because I was seated at the Georgian delegation table and didn't know it.
Oh my goodness, of all tables.
I was at the Georgian delegation table and didn't know it. And this man stood up and looked at me and said, "You sit at the wrong table." I said, "What did you say?" He said, "I say, you sit at the wrong table." I said, "What table is this?" "Yeah, your delegation." "Oh," I said, "but you see, the tables do not have any labels." I didn't know, but tomorrow I will find out where New York sits here, and then I will go to New York. So I continued to eat. And he continued, "I say, you sit at the Georgian delegation table." And I said, "I say, if you don't move from here, I will so and so and so." But then I began to feel sorry for him because he was hungry. And I decided to use a different psychological approach. And I said, "You're hungry, aren't you?" And it's the first time he gave me a smile because I was nice to him. I said, "You're hungry." He said, "Sure, I'm hungry." I said, "I know what your problem is. Your problem is you cannot sit at this table because a black person is seated at the table. Isn't that right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I am going to help you. You see that table over there? There's a table diagonally across from the table where I was sitting, and there's nobody at it." I said, "Look, you go over and you sit to that table, you order your lunch. And if anybody bothers you, you tell them, see Shirley Chisholm." And I thought this would embarrass him, but it did not. This is the funniest thing to me. It did not embarrass him. He went right over to the table, and he sat down.
It just proves how ludicrous all this is.
So right now, we're going to honor this space, and we're going to honor the memory of Michael Brown, and we're going to honor all of the Black Lives Lost this year, and we're going to honor the fact that I have to fight through all these people who said, "My life matters." That I have to get up here in front of a bunch of screaming white racists to say my life fucking matters. How dare you? Is do what people across the country are doing this weekend and have.
How dare you!
Since the day that Mike Brown was murdered, they left in the street.
How dare she call me a racist? I won't.
And we are going to set.
Know me. You're going to call me a racist.
We are going to have a moment of silence from.
How dare you!
For 4.5 minutes.
I am Janisha Harris. I am a student at Tennessee State University. Aside from being a student, I am an organizer, an activist, an advocate. I just do way too much. My first introduction into politics was an internship on the Hillary Clinton campaign in San Diego. From there, I interned at Congressman Steve Cohen's office in Memphis for the summer. I became an ambassador for the White House 2016. I am an Emerge Tennessee alum. That's an organization that basically trains Democratic women to run for office. I'm the co-founder and the national chair for the National Black Action Committee. And I currently work for the Equity Alliance. So the Equity Alliance is an organization that focuses on all things voting rights, voting registration, you name it, voting, they do it. I think being from Orange Mound is really different. It's really hard to make it out. I just lost 2 friends 2 weeks ago. I lost an uncle to gun violence 4 years ago. There's just a lot of violence there. And not because the people just want to kill people, but the system has given them tools to do so. And a lot of people frown upon people who sell drugs or people who are gangbanging or violent, but we look at the lack of community centers, we look at the lack of activities in those areas, and we wonder why people are selling drugs, but there's a lack of jobs. So I don't say it negatively when I say or when I put an emphasis on violence. It's just a fact. Like, there's a lot of violence, but that's because of the system and the people who put that system in place. They've given us tools to pretty much self-destruct. So
down in the Fraser community of Memphis, Wednesday evening, a team of U.S. Marshals encountered a suspect wanted for multiple felonies, allegedly, and they tried to apprehend him as he was getting into a vehicle. Listen.
While attempting to stop the individual, he reportedly rammed his vehicle into the officers' vehicles multiple times before exiting with a weapon. The officers fired, striking and killing the individual.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has been called in to conduct an independent probe. The shooting sparked angry protests that went late into the night. Local police and deputies were called in to assist. According to Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland, at least 24 officers were injured.
Christ. Hey!
Government only responds to unyielding pressures when the citizens of the nation begin to indicate clearly, not by rhetoric, not by resolutions, but by activism, that something has to be done.
Keelan Bishop, president of a local political club and a black woman, said, "We aren't considered universally strong candidates, especially here in South Florida. We're relegated to certain neighborhoods, districts, municipalities. Basically, wherever black people live is where we, as black women, are expected to run. And as black women, we also have very little room for imperfection in these spaces. We're not privileged to commit any little impropriety or without risking our seat at the table. Politics is the game of access and resources. We need to establish what we want, when we want it, and hold people to that." She went on to say that most black women, due to lived experience, can and should be the moral compass in a moral void. We can and should raise the black girls of today to be the free black women of tomorrow, unapologetically leveraging our political power to improve our condition and the condition of others. Black women have been beaten and cast out and killed for our right to vote in this country, and yet we're still fighting. Through every glass ceiling, we're demanding to have our stories heard and represented. We built this, and folks still refuse to follow our leadership. The labor of black women like Fannie Lou Hamer with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 not only secured the right to vote for black women, but indicative of so much of the work of black women throughout history. When we win, everybody wins.
There has been an interest in black women stepping from behind the scenes and actually running for office. In Shelby County, we sprinkle black girl magic all across the field.
Woke up this morning with my mind on